Hello, my name is Nina, welcome to my channel. In today's video I'm doing a sit down video and I don't do these very often, but I wanted to talk to you about having time for your hobbies or art or doing other things that you love alongside your 9-to-5 job. If you've seen any of my vlogs, you know that I work part-time as a teacher and the other days I work freelance. But I still make time for a lot of different hobbies and things that I really enjoy. Like reading, crocheting, ceramics, writing. And whenever I have conversations with my friends about this, they very often ask me like, how do you make time for that? Because when I get home from work, I am really tired, or I have like all of my house things to do, or there's just other things that grab my attention. So how do you make time for all of the hobbies that you have? So I wanted to do a full video about that. Now obviously my situation is different from everyone else. I don't have kids, I live with my boyfriend, so we can share like household tasks. I have a job that requires me to be at work pretty early, but that also means I get off of work pretty early. I am usually home by 4 or 4:30, so that obviously leaves some more room in the evenings. So there's obviously a lot of different factors and privileges that go into this, but still I think this video will contain a lot of tips that maybe you could apply to your life, maybe not all of them, but hopefully a few that will help you to make more time for hobbies alongside all of the other things that you have to do. So the first thing I do to make time for hobbies is I take classes. I think this is very relatable to like working out and stuff like that, where usually it's a planning thing. Like if you just plan ahead and you know when you are supposed to be where, then it's a lot easier to make time for it. Whereas if you just think, oh, I would love to read at some point this week, then there's a lot of other things that grab your attention and it is harder to make that time. I currently take 2 different types of classes. I am in a writing class and a ceramics class. And I do have to say, doing 2 classes is kind of a lot. My ceramics class is every week and my writing class is every other week, so it does take up quite a bit of time. But knowing there's a time and there's a place where you have to be, and every single week or every 2 weeks you are making time for this specific activity that you enjoy, that's just really fun and a very easy way to make sure that you make time for stuff. And especially if you plan the classes at times where you would maybe not do other things. Like my ceramics class is every Saturday morning from 9:30 to 12. And if I'm honest, on the weeks that I am not at my ceramics class, I am not using those hours. I usually sleep in on Saturdays, I have a late breakfast, I watch a show, and then I just like start my day maybe at 11 or 11:30. So the thing that I'm giving up for this class is not something that I value very much. It is just something that I do because I don't have anything else to do. And by the time I get out of the class at 12 in the afternoon, I still have a full day ahead of me, so I can still hang out with friends, do things with my family, with my boyfriend, do things around the house, whatever there is to do in the weekends. I still have time for that because it's only 12 o'clock. My writing class is on Thursday nights. Doing something after work can feel kind of like a hurdle because I am usually very tired after work, and especially if I work a little bit late and I have to go to my writing class, I have to like eat very quickly and there's not really time to do anything else. But writing is a big priority for me, so it feels like a natural thing to make time for it and to make sure that every 2 weeks I am there to take that class. And it's also just easier in terms of making other plans. I just tell my friends, no, I cannot do that Thursday because I'm at my writing class. And when I have plans to write by myself at home, I sometimes struggle saying no to other things because I'm like, I mean, I'm only gonna be sitting here with my laptop by myself, so I might as well do something else, even though I really want to make that time for writing and I really want to make sure that it gets done. So classes are great because they are planned and you are clearly prioritizing something, because you can obviously not take classes for everything. If I would take a class for every single hobby I have, I would not have any free time left. So I need to prioritize certain hobbies over others. I am currently in a phase where ceramics is really important to me, so I'm taking a class in that. But maybe in a year I will stop taking that class and do something else because that is my priority then. But also, obviously, I'm taking a class with a teacher, so I'm improving in this skill at a different pace than I would if I am just doing this by myself at home. I notice this especially in my writing because writing can be a pretty lonely exercise, and having a teacher that helps me with my writing is just really valuable and makes me a better writer. And things like ceramics, if I were to do ceramics at home, I would have to buy so many expensive supplies. I would have to learn everything from like YouTube tutorials. So having a class just makes it a lot easier to be able to do this task in the first place. So I am a big fan of taking classes. And I also love the idea of being able to take a class in one specific skill for like a few weeks and then moving on to something else. Like I would love to take a painting class one day because I'm not a very good painter, and I think if I just take a couple of classes that will get me started and I can improve my skill at home. So if you choose a class, that doesn't mean you have to like do that every week for the foreseeable future. You can only take a couple of classes. There's also a lot of workshops that are just one afternoon. So if having the commitment of doing something every week or every other week seems too much in your life right now, maybe you can plan a couple of workshops. You can plan them ahead of time. Maybe in 2 months you are taking this specific Saturday to take a workshop to improve a skill that you want to do. So yeah, I am a big fan of taking classes and workshops, and I think that is like a big thing that people maybe don't think about when it comes to hobbies. So the second thing I started doing in my life that really makes it easier to make time for my hobbies is to combine seeing my friends with doing this hobby. For example, I take my ceramics class with my sister. This is something we're both interested in, and that means that every single week I am seeing my sister and we're doing something fun together. I also have a bunch of friends that love to read, so sometimes instead of hanging out and chatting, we hang out and we both take our book and we just sit there and read together. So this is a hobby that we can share, and it is both social time and time for hobbies. So for example, if you text a friend that you know loves to crochet, you can plan a crochet evening in like 2 weeks and you both have this in your calendars. You just know that you're going to do that hobby at that time. There's also just such a joy in being able to share something you enjoy with people you love, and doing things together just makes them more fun in my opinion. And you don't even have to do the same hobby. Like you could have a craft night with some friends and people can take crochet work or embroidery or sewing or drawing or whatever they enjoy doing, and you can do them together even though you're not doing the same thing. And you can also learn a lot from your friends. The only reason I crochet is because my best friend actually started crocheting and she kept telling me about it and I got so excited about it, so then we started doing it together. So that is a great way to learn new skills from your friends and also just try new things. Now you may think none of my friends are interested in this, or I don't have friends that have the same hobbies as me, but maybe just suggest this. Because like I said, you don't have to all do the same thing, and I think there's a lot more people interested in this than you would think. And I also think there's a lot of people around that have things that they wish they would make time for, but they just don't, so they don't really talk about it. But if you would suggest an evening like a craft night, they might think, oh, then I finally have time to do this one thing that I've been meaning to do. The third tip I have is to add time for hobbies in your daily routine. Online, if we talk about morning routines or evening routines, there's usually like meditation and skincare and maybe a workout, but you can very easily include your hobbies in that time as well. I can do a full video about my whole evening routine if you want to, but basically I take a shower and do all of the like winding down at 8, and then I give myself an hour from like 8:30 to 9:30 for whatever hobby I want to do. Sometimes I crochet, sometimes I write, sometimes I read, sometimes I watch a show with my boyfriend or I call with my friends. This is just like free time that is planned into my day so that in that hour I can do whatever I want to do. Now this is not possible every single day. If I hang out with friends after work, if I have my writing class, if there's a lot of work to do and I have to work overtime, you name it, there's a lot of reasons why this might not happen, but that is in general with my evening routine. I feel like my evening routine is not something that happens every single day. It is just something that happens whenever I can do it, and I try to do it as often as possible. And that is also the case with this. I think the only rule I have is that I don't go on social media, because first, I don't want to be on a screen right before bedtime, and also social media is just something that I lose a lot of time in even though I might not want to. But besides that, I can do whatever I want. And usually in this time, I choose specific hobbies that I would consider winding down or relaxing hobbies. Like for me, writing is something that takes a lot of energy and I really have to use my head for it. So I usually don't use this time to write. But reading is something that really relaxes me and that I will feel a little bit more sleepy and relaxed afterwards. So that is something that I will do. But I think it's interesting to just look at your day and see where you can plan a certain time frame where you can do something for yourself. For me, this is after work because I work pretty early, but it could also be before work. Maybe you have 30 minutes before you have to leave for work that you can use to do whatever hobby you want to do. And I also think it's important to not be too strict with this. Like if you say, okay, I'm gonna read for 30 minutes every single day before work, and you wake up and you don't feel like reading, that can feel like a failure. But if you just say, okay, I give myself 30 minutes to do whatever I want to do, but I'm not gonna be on social media, maybe you read, maybe you clean your house, maybe you do whatever, but you can just do what you feel like doing. Now, the fourth important thing to keep in mind when you're making time for hobbies is that if you spend your time on something, you're not spending it on something else. That may seem like a very logical thing to say, but I think a lot of people don't realize that if I say I want to read more, then I have to take that time from doing something else. When I decided that I wanted to prioritize my hobbies and my art in my life, I looked at my day-to-day and I looked at what I was spending my time on. And I realized that I was spending a lot of time on social media, on watching YouTube and Netflix, on doing things that I didn't really enjoy, but I just kind of automatically grabbed. So I think it's really important to ask yourself, what am I spending my time on and what do I want to spend my time on? Obviously, there's some things that you cannot stop doing. I have to be at work. I have to make sure my house is clean. I have to take care of my pets, whatever. I want to see my friend. I want to have quality time with my boyfriend, but I also want to spend time on my hobbies and my art. So I started being more strict about what time I'm spending on my phone, what time I'm spending on screens, and also making my hobbies more easily available to me. What I mean by that is that if I come home from work and I'm tired, the easiest thing to do is sit down on my couch and turn on the TV. So I put a bin of my crochet things under my coffee table. So whenever I sit down on the couch, I see my crochet stuff and I can think, oh, it's just as easy to grab that than it is to grab the remote. Now, does that mean I never watch TV anymore? No, but it makes me think about what I want to do instead of what I automatically do without thinking about it. So leaving my crochet stuff near the couch, or putting a book next to my bedside table, or making a special little pouch with my journaling supplies that I can easily grab, just makes it easier to spend time on my hobbies instead of grabbing my phone or doing something else. I think it's all about being intentional with your time. I'm still on social media, but I try to give myself 30 minutes of mindless scrolling, and I set a timer, and after the timer goes off, I put away my phone and I start to do something else. Because if I don't do that, it's been 3 hours if I look up and I haven't done any of the things that I actually wanted to do because I kind of fell into this social media hole. So being more intentional and taking a little pause before you start an activity and think, is this what I want to do and how much time do I want to spend on this? I think is a very easy way to make more time for art or hobbies. Now, the final thing I wanted to talk about is, how do you start hobbies? This whole video I've been talking from the perspective of someone who has a lot of hobbies, but maybe you watch this and you're like, I want to spend my time on different things, but I don't know what to do. And I think that's very fair. I think a lot of people don't currently have hobbies, but would like to have some more. So the first thing I would recommend is making a list of everything you either already enjoy or would like to try. You can divide the list in things that you can already do because you already have the skills and the supplies, and things that you would like to try but you've never done or you don't have the supplies to start them. And then you can divide between wind down hobbies that you can maybe put in your night routine, things that you would love to do with friends, and things that you may want to take classes in. And that can give you a pretty good starting point. Now, you don't have to start all of these hobbies right away, but you can maybe choose one where you're like, ooh, this is something that I would love to do with friends. Let me text this and this friend right now and we can plan it. That is already the first step to making that hobby more prominent in your life. Maybe Google some of the things that are on the list of things you would like to take a class in. You can see if there's classes that work with your schedule and your budget, and you can maybe make them work. Or maybe there's a one-day workshop in one of those things that you would like to try, and you can plan that. If there's a hobby on your wind down list that you already have the supplies for, put those supplies in a place that you can see them when you come home from work, and maybe that will make it easier to grab that instead of something else. And maybe there's something you currently do in your daily life that you can swap for some hobby time. So maybe you can journal instead of social media, or crocheting instead of watching TV, and plan when you want to do it. Like if you know, okay, usually after dinner I watch TV for 1 hour, what can you spend that hour on instead? Now, if you have no clue what type of hobbies you would want to start, maybe text some friends that you know have hobbies and ask them to show them to you one time. Like, crochet was not something I was interested in until my best friend started it and I saw it with her and I thought it was really interesting. You can obviously also use social media or Pinterest to look at things that might interest you, but I think using the people around you and seeing if you can use your community to learn new skills is a really valuable source. So, I've been talking your ear off. I hope any of these tips were useful for you and I hope you can implement them if this is something you want to do. Please let me know if you have any other tips or if there's any ways you specifically make time for hobbies. And let me know if any of these tips were useful. I would love to know. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you can subscribe and I will hopefully see you again next week. Bye!